Good afternoon. We're here today to discuss 23 CR 2866, the trial of Devin Beaubien, who this afternoon was convicted on multiple charges, including second-degree murder in the death of Fountain Police Officer Julian Becerra. Standing next to me is the prosecution team on the case: Assistant District Attorney Brent Nelson, Senior Deputy District Attorney Jeff Harwood, District Court Paralegal Manager Kim Daniluk, Victim Advocate Kimberly Sorrells, and Investigator Cecil Weir. Also here with us, Fountain Police Chief Mark Cristiani and Fountain Mayor Sharon Thompson. First, you'll hear from District Attorney Michael Allen.
Thank you all for being here today. I want to just say one thing at the beginning. Because this process is not over, this is going to be a limited sharing of information, but we did want to answer at least a little bit of some of the questions that are probably in people's heads. I want to start, though, by mentioning that in today's world, service in law enforcement can oftentimes feel like a thankless job. And yet women and men all across the United States get up every day, put on the uniform and badge, and go to work. They don't know if today will be the last day they see their loved ones. And that was certainly the case back in early February 2023, when Officer Julian Becerra and his wife Katie, both young parents with busy lives, passed each other as Julian headed off to work. Officer Becerra gave his life in service to our community, as he and many others in law enforcement worked to stop 3 criminals who engaged in a violent crime spree the night of February 2nd, 2023. Our hearts will remain with Katie, their young son, and all of Officer Becerra's family members, who will obviously continue to mourn the loss of their hero in blue. I want to thank Fountain Police Chief Mark Cristiani for his support of this effort, and everyone in the Fountain Police Department for their unwavering service to our community despite the dangers that come with that service. We are indebted to them. I also want to thank Fountain Mayor Sharon Thompson for her support of her police department in Fountain and of the efforts of the District Attorney's Office trial team in our collective pursuit of justice. I also want to extend heartfelt thanks to the jury. They worked hard last week as they took in some horrific evidence, and it is likely that they will live with those memories for a long time. Through their diligence, justice has been served today. Today, Devin Beaubien was found guilty of all charges, including the murder of Officer Julian Becerra. As a result of those findings of guilt, the defendant's bond was revoked, and he will remain in custody pending the next phase of this prosecution effort. In this case, the defendant was also charged as an habitual criminal offender based off of previous criminal convictions. Habitual criminal charges are sentence enhancers that must be proven to the court. The court accordingly has set a hearing date for July 3rd, 2024 at 3 p.m. to determine whether our office has satisfied the burden of proof for those prior convictions. At the conclusion of that hearing, the court will schedule a formal sentencing. And at that sentencing hearing, the court will hear from affected victims and other potential individuals before it pronounces sentence. The sentencing potential in this case ranges from 16 years in prison up to 96 years once those habitual criminal charges are proven to the court's satisfaction. The court obviously has still some other proceedings to conduct in this case, and that's why we're only talking really about the procedural impact as we move forward. It's unusual to have habitual criminal charges that follow a conviction in a case like this, but it's important for our brothers and sisters in blue to know that this process is ongoing, that we are holding this violent offender accountable to the highest extent of the law, and that we stand with them in their service to our community. With that, I would ask if there are any questions about the process going forward, what that process might look like, and where we go from here.
Can I ask you a question about the felony murder that
Yeah.
you said approved today?
Yeah.
It's my understanding that the felony murder law changed in recent years. Could you explain for the viewers at home how that law has changed in recent years and what impact it had on your prosecution effort?
Yeah, so the question revolves around the Hyde charge in this case, which is the felony murder. It's a Class 2 felony currently. Back in 2019, felony murder was downgraded from a Class 1 felony to a Class 2 felony. What that means is that prior to the law changed, if somebody was convicted of felony murder, they would be sentenced to life in prison without parole. As a result of that statutory change, they are now subject to 16 years to 48 years in prison with mandatory parole of 5 years. The impact of that, obviously, is that it takes away the highest level punishment that we have available to us in the state of Colorado. It means that people that are convicted of felony murder do get a parole at some point in their sentence. And in my mind, it's a disservice to victims of crime. We're talking about violent offenders who are engaging in violent criminal activity out in the community, like aggravated robbery, who in the course of that violent action kill somebody else. And in my mind, those people should be sentenced to life in prison without parole. And it's something that I testified against back when the bill was being considered back in 2019. Thank you for the question, Sean. Any other questions? Yeah.
Sort of piggybacking off of that, and this might be a question for Mr. Nelson or Mr. Harwood, I'm not sure. Why didn't you go forward with first-degree murder? Did you feel like the evidence didn't back up even going for that?
Yeah, so you have to prove, the question is why didn't we go for first-degree murder? So you have to be able to fit the law to the facts of any given case. And it's the same kind of evaluation we make on all homicide cases, whether we have enough evidence to prove the intent required. And so for first-degree murder, as you're referencing, Melissa, we would have to prove that the defendant intended to kill somebody and engaged in activity that would result in death. We didn't have that here. And so the best application was felony murder, engaging in an aggravated robbery and killing somebody in the process of engaging in that felony murder or that aggravated robbery. So we always have to look at the facts and then apply the law to those facts, and that's what we did here.
Did the jury have the option of manslaughter as a conviction? If so, why do you think they landed on second degree rather than manslaughter?
Well, I would suggest, with as quick as this jury came back with a verdict, that they felt that the evidence was very strong, and that's why they came back with a conviction on all charges. I think it's first and foremost, it's important to note that. Secondarily, oftentimes defense will ask for lesser included charges, and that was not really an option in this case. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. And then just looking ahead, as we get to that sentencing date, we'll probably have a more comprehensive press conference at that time where you'll be able to hear from the mayor and from the police chief. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I'll post updates online as available.